Battlefield 2042 is getting what looks like its best content since launch. The brand new Season 3 trailer just dropped, and in my opinion, it's one of the game's best so far. It features a railgun tank, the handheld Rorsch Mark IV railgun, throwing knives, a crazy looking new map called Spearhead, and a specialist with an airburst grenade launcher. Now, as a Battlefield 4 fan, I do like all the throwback stuff coming. The Rorsch Mark IV is obviously the evolution of the Rorsch Mark I from Battlefield 4's Final Stand DLC, though the trailer seems to indicate that it has a full auto mode now, so clearly some upgrades have been made. The new specialist is also getting what is basically an upgraded Battlefield 4 XM25, the XM370A. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the indirect fire weapon, so this could be annoying, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, when it comes to the Spearhead map, it's a beautiful, lush green area with two huge cube factories. The area around the factory buildings is somewhat open, lending itself to vehicle combat and sniping. However, the trailer shows a lot of natural land formations and elevation changes, which should hopefully let the skilled infantryman get around somewhat safely. Moving into the factories, it looks like there'll be some level of interactivity with the environment. They kind of look like the 2042 version of, say, a gigafactory. The trailer shows a group of soldiers entering through a ventilation system after shutting the intake or exhaust fan down. There is something kind of similar to this on the renewal map with the underground tunnels. It's unclear if you'll be able to destroy this fan using explosives, but the squad of soldiers does include the Rouse specialist, and the fan is stopped rather than destroyed. You may have to hack it to temporarily shut it down. As this group of soldiers continues into the building, they're seen dropping down from the ceiling to attack another group. There doesn't seem to be any obvious points to get into the higher parts of the building via the exterior like zip lines, so this shaft might be one of the few ways to get in from above. That said, the facade of the building is destructible, which may lead to new entry points. That's right, destruction in 2042. Who would have thunk it? Now, throughout the trailer, we get to see the new guns in action, and I gotta say, they do look pretty cool. The Rorsch Mark IV is certainly the highlight, a railgun with an interesting optic on it. It also seems like it might have multiple fire modes. As you can see, it's certainly firing in what appears to be full auto at the start, but then a single shot takedown later. It'll be interesting to see what the dynamics of this weapon are. The new pistol is called the NVK P125. It is a semi-auto bullpup pistol with a long barrel that could potentially make it a precise long-range weapon. The footage shows an ammo counter on the top of the gun with 14 rounds loaded. As far as I know, this is the first bullpup design sidearm in a Battlefield game, and I don't think it's based on anything real. Now, the new NVK S22 is a semi-auto double-barrel shotgun, and it looks pretty devastating. It also has an ammo counter on top, but it initially shows 9 rounds total, although it does have a dual-digit display, so potentially more can be loaded. This one looks very similar to the Kel-Tec bullpup shotguns that we have seen in previous games, but just kind of like a futuristic version. Now, the final new weapon is a throwing knife that you can use instead of a grenade. Not much to say about that other than I'm sure it's going to be a meme weapon. Potentially a one-hit takedown. I can't imagine it being particularly enjoyable if you had to hit somebody twice with a throwing knife. Now, the new specialist is an assault character named Rashid Zain. He brings the airburst grenade launcher to 2042, and it seems like it has basically identical behavior to the BF4 version of this weapon. You designate the range by pointing it at the cover or object that you want it to detonate slightly past, and then you aim where you want the shot to go. It's extremely effective for dealing with targets behind cover, as they just don't have any other option other than to move out from behind the cover, and I am legitimately worried about some of the more choke point oriented modes when it comes to this weapon. Now, Zane's specialist trait is a fast heal. After he kills an enemy, you'll be back to full health almost immediately when you get a kill with him, and it'll be interesting to see how this factors into his aggressive playstyle. The new tank is the EMK V90 Tor. DICE previously leaked this vehicle in a now deleted tweet. Its primary weapon is a railgun cannon, and the tank itself has 2 modes of operation. First is the standard, just basic maneuverability mode. You drive around and shoot at stuff. And the second is a siege mode that drops the tank's suspension and slows it down while giving the cannon more stopping power. I love this idea. Of course, it's not an original concept. You could definitely trace the concept back to things like StarCraft's Siege Tank, but I actually really like the idea in a Battlefield game, and I'm curious to see what this thing can actually do. They show it downing a VTOL transport in the trailer, so hopefully its high velocity round makes it an interesting anti-air option. The trailer also briefly shows us the A91 and XM8 in action, reminding us that there are 2 new portal weapons dropping with this season, I believe at the start as well, and then potentially more down the road. We'll have to wait and see, as they did surprise us in Season 2 with quite a few portal weapons at later dates. Now, as for how all of this content is being divided between the base game owners and the Battle Pass players, all of the gameplay stuff like the new weapons and specialists will be free to unlock via the seasonal Battle Pass progression. Pass owners will get additional cosmetic items, including a new melee weapon. Now, in general, I'm really digging the futuristic style of this DLC. I feel like fans that have been wanting that 2142 remake will actually get a taste of that here. The map, the new tanks, and the weapons all look like they're well on their path to entering that 2142 realm. Before this, everything else just kind of felt like a slightly modified version of what we still have in like modern weapon arsenals, kind of like the M5A3, which is essentially an M4 assault rifle, and the M1A5 tank, which is basically just a futuristic Abrams. This new railgun tank feels like it fits with the cool VTOL transport more and pushes 2042 a bit further into its own style. The map and futuristic gigafactories also feel very different and more built around a fun narrative instead of something like, here's a shipping yard or here's Seoul, Korea. This map feels very theme appropriate. It's too bad the whole game couldn't have been built a bit more around this art style and narrative, but at least we're getting more of it now, and I hope the season after it continues this narrative a bit further. Who knows, maybe one day we'll even get to see what that satellite secret weapon is. You know, the one that's part of the loading screen for the game. Anyway, I'm definitely excited to get in and play this season. The launch content is exciting, and the specialist and map reworks coming later could be a real game changer. This season is definitely the most exciting period for 2042 since launch. It's unfortunate that all of this stuff is happening right around when all the DMZ and Warzone 2.0 content is dropping for Call of Duty, as that's some pretty stiff competition, but I do think it'll offer some pretty solid Battlefield content. Now, if you want to watch something completely different, go check out last night's live stream where Matimio and I teamed up to check out the brand new DMZ mode. It's always fun gaming with Matt, and as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.